Hey everybody, Scott Hogan coming at you here. We are back with our Breaking Barrier series. Today we're talking about breaking par. On the full swing, what do you have to be able to do to break that magical par number? All right, everybody. So thanks so much so far for watching this series. Hopefully you've enjoyed our Breaking Barrier series. Again, we are talking about breaking par. So when we start breaking par, just like in putting, what we need to do on the range is actually start putting together shots. You got to be able to put together a series of golf shots and really be able to deal with the variability of what the golf course is going to bring. The number one thing that you'll hear me talk about this in my own game when I was back doing mini tours and stuff like that was, my goal was to break par a lot, right? You have to be shooting well under par. And, I struggled to do that good enough, right? I could only get a couple under. And it was hard to do that because my theory and what I thought you had to do was hit every shot perfect and put yourself in positions, and you almost had to get lucky to put yourself in positions where it's like, all right, I've got a perfect 7-iron in, I've got a draw shape, which is what I like to hit, I have the right winds, all of those things. And that was the thought, that those things have to go well, and that's what good players did. And you never make a bad swing, and the swing doesn't change, whatever, all of those things. But what I realized is that puts a lot of pressure on you. You're starting to raise the pressure because you're thinking, I got to do this perfect. One bad thing and I'm going to be in trouble. And it couldn't be farther from the truth, actually. When we look at really good players, as I started to get around more and more good players, what I realized is when they practice, they obviously have great golf swings, but they can do all the fundamental stuff we're talking about. So if you go back through all these videos, breaking 100, breaking 90, breaking 80, they can do all of these things without fail on the range, and they can do them from a lot of different ways. So they can strike a golf ball dead center. They could make a goofy swing and do it. They can do a low backswing and make it happen. They work on all the different ways that they can make it, all the key fundamentals work. And that's critical because what we start to realize is you're not going to have all the numbers. You're going to have crosswinds all day one time, or you're going to have where you're playing into the wind all the time, you're hitting knockdowns all the time, and that can't keep you from getting to your goal. You have to deal with that, and you have to embrace that challenge. So when we get out here on the range, what we actually want to do is have some variability. This is where it can be really helpful to have a launch monitor. We've got our Mevo back there, but it's just something where you want to start experimenting with a couple of things. So what I like to do first is work on yardages, right? So if I got a 7-iron, for me a 7-iron standard goes 175 yards, okay? But what happens if I, want to hit one a little bit of a half backswing, half through swing, okay, and I make contact? I want to see how far that goes, okay? Now it landed right out just short of the 150 sign with the range ball, so it's going a little bit farther. Again, having a launch monitor can help you normalize out the range ball, but I also could pay attention to that ball. All right, it didn't draw. I normally hit a draw, and it kind of faded off a little bit because of the wind, so it got caught up there. So I can do that again, or I could say, all right, what happens if I maybe try to work on that fade? So I'm going to really try to draw this one now with that same size swing. Hit it pretty good. It is drawing. Definitely a little bit farther, not out to full distance, but there's the shot I could hit. And I held that ball actually pretty straight against the wind. So when I'm out here, I'm using these conditions to try and practice and get a feel for what can I do in this scenario that's presented to me today, and how can I work on controlling it? Because when I get out there, again, we've got a golf hole right behind you, 210-yard par 3 to a pretty tiny green, left to right wind. I got to be able to hit the green or be very close. So I want to use this opportunity to work on the shots that I could use to keep it on target and go from there. So when we're starting to break par, again, I see a lot of people, I spent a lot of time in Arizona, and the thought was perfection. Swing's got to get perfect. It's got to get this, it's got to get that. And you would see a lot of robotic swings, working on positions. Not saying there's not a time to do that, but that was almost 100% of the practice time. And then when it got to tournament rounds or pressure rounds, okay, anytime the pressure went up on the golf course, they were feeling it because they couldn't handle if they got a side hill lie. They couldn't handle if they had into the wind, crosswind, downhill, uphill. And you want to start to feel what you can do with those things. So again, the more we can experiment, we can also add in what we did with breaking 80. Go ahead and start to curve the ball around, get a feel for that. We're trying to put together all these pieces to figure out how we can get this golf ball to our spot. And again, we started with yardage because I like to know, like, if I have a 175 yard shot, well, for my 7-iron, I'm golden. With no wind, with nothing going on, awesome. Preferably with the left pin, I'm sitting there loving it. But that happens so rarely that I got to be ready to deal with it. What happens if I got 170 yards with a right pin, wind left to right, and it's a little downhill? What am I going to do to still get the ball close to the hole? Because if you're going to break par, you got to avoid bogeys, you got to put a few birdies in, and you got to be able to take advantage of some of those situations as you go. So for the full swing, we want to really experiment what we're doing. And then the second part is we want to pay attention to what shots we can rely on. All right, so again, I prefer to hit a draw. What shots am I going to keep inside of a nice tight blanketed area, and which ones do I not? Because I can't, if I'm going to break par, if I'm going to get making double bogeys or triple bogeys, yeah, I got to make a lot of birdies to make that up. All right, and so you're really drastically reducing your margin of error to get down below par. So getting a feel for when you're experimenting, what shots do you think you could rely on and actually take out to the golf course? From there, I would actually then move back to what we did on the first breaking 100. I would try and hit that shot out of 10 and try to hit it 8 out of 10 times, pretty in an acceptable about 10% of the yardage target area. If I can do that, then I'm going to be pretty good. So again, we're experiment. I'm going to go with a little bit of a draw, kind of a, try to hit it like 165 with this 7. Hit it pretty good. With the left to right wind, it really gets held up. Something I'll notice is that, so with that swing, if I make my draw swing with that left to right wind, that's a shot I could use if I need to hold the ball off as we go. So that's how I'm thinking as we go to hit the ball. Not trying to be perfect, but trying to understand, analyze, and see what I can use out there on the golf course to battle the variability that golf is. Golf is a variable game. It is not a stand on the range, hit everything off flat lies, perfect robotic swing, and then go out there. So hopefully that helps you once you're working on it. So what I want to see you do is start hitting some different shots, working the ball around. Again, 8 out of 10. Try to see how many shots you can add to your repertoire, different yardages, different shapes, different curves, those things that you can go 8 out of 10. The more you have it, the better chances you're going to have. You're going to get the ball closer to the hole, have more birdie chances, less bogey chances, and you're going to be breaking par in no time. So again, thanks so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions about this, make sure you comment down below, and we will be happy to get back to you and answer those. And again, as always, if you can click that subscribe button, that really does help us out, or give us a thumbs up, that also really helps us out. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.